joints, wrists, elbows, especially shoulders, knees. Like, these are things that are going to blow out if they haven't already, right? One of the things that also inspired this, at least for me, is every single warlord that I had ever talked to, either in the year that they got it, beforehand, or in the year after they received their warlord, had surgery on some part of their body that they had blown out. Not most, not a couple, all of them. This game takes a high toll on people. Like, we're trying to push ourselves as hard as we can, and most of us do not come from a professional athlete-like background. If you don't know how to train, if you don't know how to do isolated workouts, if you are not the type of person who's been to a CrossFit gym or been to a gym in general for weight training, there's a lot of things that we are putting on ourselves, that we are putting on our bodies in this hobby that are in excess, that are going to cause damage to us in the long run unless we start earlier recognizing these things and trying to sort of maybe not prevent them, because you're not going to be able to prevent the sort of things that we're doing, but ease into it, make it so that it does less damage to us in the long run, right? So body mechanics. Peter the Quick was talking about how you throw a wrap. A lot of people, at least when I started 20-something years ago, were taught to do these big, large movements around. You're doing a lot, there's actually a lot of pressure at the beginning with your shoulder. It's like you're throwing a baseball pitch, and then there's a lot of pressure at your elbow because you're fully extended when you're making contact, right? Both of those things are going to lead to joint damage, right? So if instead you are taught to throw a wrap as you throw forward and then turn your elbow over, right? Your wrist is maintaining the plane. It's not an extended apex, and your elbow also. There's a lot that you can do there to throw that wrap without having it fully extended, right? And that actually gives you a lot of play on how you throw that wrap and how deep or how much you can adjust the angle on it, right? But if you're thinking about it as turning your elbow over instead of like my hand comes around like a whip or like a mace head, flail head, right? If you're instead thinking about how your body works to throw the thing, it's going to do less damage to your joints, right? Because if you can throw that wrap with a 35-degree angle, 25-degree something, where it's not flat out, it's going to do less damage to your joints. Last fighter coming through. Great. Next bit. A lot of people will try and do things where they're contorting their body in order to get angles on shots. You see that a lot. Or one that was big a few years ago, once Shion and Anatole started doing that really deep money, right? Where you're contorting fully underneath so you can get your board up and throw the shot. How many different ways are you fucking your spine in that moment for one shot, right? You can do similar, not as successful shots by doing level changes, right? And maintaining your spine. You can still do that shot, okay? And you will get a similar money by knees being engaged, lowering your body, doing a level change with a step. Boom. Now you still have that angle, but you're not contorting your spine completely and twisting it while you're doing it in order to get the shot, right? So just think about ways that you fight that at the end of the day you're like, man, my elbow or my shoulder or my hip or my knee is just feeling like shit. Okay, what are you doing consistently to that joint that is making it hurt? And is there a way that you can do that without hyperflexing the joint or putting a lot of strain or putting extra stress into it, right? You can do all of these shots if you set them up with footwork and timing to do them with corrected, not necessarily correct, but like better body movement that is less high impact on those joints, right? So That's that bit. A lot of people will try and do something with just one body part to get it there. Like, if you've ever seen somebody who throws with like just wrist, right? Or like, all I want to do is throw as fast as I humanly can with just this part of my body, right? They're putting as much strain as they can on their wrist, on their elbow. This is a good way to have that surgery in the next 5 to 10 years, right? It will net you wins. And then you'll pay for it, however many, $30,000, $40,000 for you to get your tennis elbow, cubital orbital syndrome, carpal tunnel, or cubital tunnel syndrome, carpal tunnel syndrome, right? So if instead, this is something that I actually learned from Sir Shadow. He has a video of this online. Like, if you want to throw a shot, right, your whole body should be moving in tandem. Okay? One of the ways that we're taught to throw also the wrap shot is, it's a whip. Starts at the shoulder, goes to the elbow, goes to the wrist, right? But the problem is that at each of those junctures, you're putting excess strain on both the elbow and the wrist. So if instead you move as one, right, and instead of throwing that wrap shot as a whip around, you throw it as my entire body is moving forward, this is coming forward, and then I turn the elbow in. Boom! Now everything's moving in tandem. Everything is taking the strain equally. There's no chain effect in your body, and you're still landing the shot. And most of the time with fucking way more power than you ever had, throwing it as a whip. And for some people that's not a benefit, but for Bell, Dag, or SCB fighters, like if you can intimidate someone with hitting them with a 10, and bam, and everybody around you heard it, and 3 blocks away could hear that hit, and you're not hurting yourself in the process. It's for everybody, right? Oh, stabs. Everybody should love stabs. I am a huge fan, right? But what you will see typically with newer fighters is they will try and arm the stab, right? They're just pushing out. What do you notice about when you get to contact with that stab? This joint is fully extended. This joint is fully extended. All of it is in a row, so that if you do land that stab, boom, everything is taking impact. Okay? It's a lot easier if instead of making it an arm-only or shoulder-only movement, you take the step with it. Your body is the thing that's going to drive that pressure, right? So instead of making the stab up be this, right, you make the stab up this. It hits the same spot. You're still getting the location that you want. It's just when you do the stab, boom, your wrist is in a good position, your elbow's not locked, your shoulder's not locked. All of these things are working together instead of working in a chain. And so it's gonna put less pressure on. My absolute favorite one is to fake a chop up high so that I can get this stab underneath. And that stab underneath has so much power to it because my entire body is moving with the stab, right? And if you want to be especially mean to somebody and aim for that lower diaphragm, you will get the noise that you want when you take that step, right? So we're trying to do that step and not our own joints. We're just wanting to make sure that our friend really feels it, right? Okay? So feel free to come in. So the point of doing that again is just to think like you can do all of the fighting that you do now. You can land the shots that you had been landing earlier, right? You just have to be cognizant of the fact that if you're going to do these shots, make them less damaging to yourself in the process, right? Don't make it something where I'm all the way extended at range and applying pressure. If I do it right and hit them, that is the end goal. Because if you're all the way out when you finally get the stab and then there's excess pressure coming in, here's where it's applying, here's where it's applying, here's where it's applying. One of them is going to be hurt, right? If instead you make it something where I want to stab them in, I want to do that torque stab and bam, and get them right there in the sword side shoulder while they're extending out, great, you can do that by making it a body movement instead of just arm. Right? It shouldn't be your arm driving that shot. Your arm should get it into position, and your body movement is the thing that's going to drive it home, okay? The other added benefit to that is every one of your stabs, instead of being something where your muscles are driving it home, right? You can generate, I can't remember the math on it, I'm positive that don't remember, so it's something like 50 or 60 pounds of force by pushing forward with your arms if you're good and strong and healthy or whatever. I weigh 245, 250 pounds. I've just hit you with 200 pounds of pressure versus 50. Your opponent is going to feel the effects of that shot more than you are, and that's sort of the point. It's not that you're trying to hurt your opponent, it's more that you're driving the force without injuring yourself in the process, right? Stretches. We have to get to this eventually. Like, that's just, what do you do before you start fighting, right? If you've been fighting for 5-10 years, you're probably not feeling it as much. If you've been fighting for 20 plus years, 25 plus years, there you go. If you don't have a stretch planned out before you start fighting or after you start fighting, you are expecting pain at some point in your day, right? Right? We've been there. I've been there a lot. A good one, stretch the wrist before you start fighting. You apply pressure, thumb, forefingers, pushing down, right? You feel that stretch in your upper arm, should be right about here, right? Those are muscles that you use a lot when you fight, right? And then fingers up, again, pushing back. That one should be felt along here, along here, right? It doesn't feel like much, right? You only have to do it 5-10 seconds. It doesn't feel like it's doing a lot, but stretching those before you fight really helps make it so, number one, your tendons are prepared for the flexing that you're about to give them, because anytime that you're doing any sort of fighting, there's going to be the muscle connects to the bone with the tendons, right? So all of the connecting points, like, it helps them to stretch before you're applying pressure from your muscles to make those bones move, right? So the wrist one's really good. Wrist, shoulders, right? You want your hand to end up in the middle of your back, and you want to apply pressure from your fingers side down. And that should stretch here and a little bit here, right? But that's what we're going for. We want those parts of our body that are actively used to throw shots to be prepared for the beating that we're about to give them, right? Like, we're about to use these and abuse these, so we should make sure that they're sort of ready for it, right? So wrists, shoulders. This one's going to be hard to get on camera. But you sit with your feet touching, you pull them in, and then you push down with your elbows. This is stretching the inner thighs, right here. And it's an annoying ass thing to have happen, but this is something, especially if you do a lot of lunging, if you do a lot of springing forward, right? These muscles are used a lot to get you to move forward and back. So I think it's called butterfly stretch, but that's the idea, is you plant your feet in, pull them in, and then use your elbows to push down. Stretch that out. And then just like legs. We've all done. I mean, if you've done any sort of running sports or anything like that, you're just trying to get them the movement. Martial arts tend to do this one a lot, inside outside. It's like big steps, right? Or outside inside. And that's the idea, is you're just getting those tendons, those muscles moving so that they're prepared for the exercise you're about to do, right? Then afterward, to cool down. hips, stand, shoulder width apart, reach up with one hand, lean over to the side, right? It's really gonna stretch your chest, it's really gonna stretch your chest and your hips. This is the whole area right here. The whole side is just gonna, you have to be standing to do it. You feel that though? Your entire side is just like, oh shit. This all of, and if you hear or feel a pop, it's not a bad thing. It's helpful. It means that things are getting back into place, right? This next one is one that I learned from a chiropractor because my lower back is fucked. So we get in this nice sort of cross position. We get one leg all the way up, and then we see how close to the ground we can get. 1, 3, then back up, then down, back up, and the other leg. And all that's doing, all that's forcing, is it's forcing that lower back, the lumbar spine, to twist and align itself. Your vertebra, hello. Your vertebra want to be in alignment. They want to be aligned. And so you take that stretch, and what it's doing is it's giving each vertebra space to twist so that when your legs realign again, right, there's no torsion there. It's kind of like taking a mini nap for your spine so that it can realign itself. Okay? And then this is another one that actually usually hurts. Closer to shoulder width apart and just down. And you will feel it all the way down your hamstring, the entire fucking thing. And as you get older and you get better at the breathing part, every time you breathe in, you come up. Every time you breathe out, come down. And you try and get to the point where you're touching the ground between your toes. I haven't done this one in a while, so I feel that stretch a lot right now.
I was rolling around all day, so yeah.
Yeah. The more you do these things, though, the more that you maintain these things, the easier they are to do. You'll feel like, why am I even doing these stretches? But if you're doing the stretches and you're able to get to the end points, like he is, because he's still young, where your fists are the things that are on the ground instead of your fingertips, right? Your hamstring is fully stretched out. And that's a really fantastic thing to maintain, and it's really fucking hard to get back. So the whole point of the stretches and the maintenance and the thinking about how your body works and how your joints work is mostly so, if you think about it now, it's way, way, way easier to maintain it than it is to try and get it back, right? Anybody who's ever been injured and had physical therapy afterwards knows that recovery from a surgery sucks. It's way easier to just do that stuff beforehand and prevent yourself from getting injured than it is to recover from an injury, right? And this has got a guy with 2 ACL surgeries, meniscal tear. Like, I've spent entirely too much money on fixing my own joints, so I'm trying to save you that money and that time. Mental game. All right. We've done our stretches. We've thought about how our joints interact. We've thought about our body mechanics. What's something that we can do to feel engaged, to still get some training, some fighting in, right? Without endangering ourselves at all. Mental, right? Glenn called it, it was like, where is this thing? Dang it. It's like, anyway, the thing that we talked about in the drills class was they took three groups of basketball players over a summer, right? And for one group of basketball players, they had them do 30 minutes of scrimmage every single day for 3 months. Right? The second group, the control group, they had them sit in the gym and do nothing for 30 minutes every day for 3 months. Right? The last group, they had them mindfully, purposefully thinking about shooting, training, throwing free throws, and doing scrimmages, and just mindfully concentrating on training for 30 minutes a day for 3 months. Now, obviously, the group that actually did the exercise got, significantly better after that 3 months. The second group did not gain much benefit, and actually, their skill decreased. The third group, surprisingly, almost got as good as the first group. Practiced, focused, mindful thinking about training has value. If you don't have the ability to fight, but you're still thinking about fighting, you're still getting something from it, right? And there are ways that we can do this with time that we're already using. How many people in this room watch TV? Right? If you spend any amount of time on TV per day, I watch at least 30 minutes of anime a day. That's just who I am as a person. That's not going to change. But if I'm spending 30 minutes a day where the only part of my activity is watching something, that means my body can be doing things, right? So what I do, and I talked about this again in the drills class, is it's kind of a form of shadow boxing, right? I get in front of the TV and I think about how is it that I throw a crossbody shot. All right, can I do that exact same movement in the exact same way with my offhand? Most of us can't. So you take that time to train your off arm on doing the thing that your main arm knows how to do, right? This is how I throw the J-hook. All right, if this is how I throw the J-hook, can my left arm do the exact same motion to get the exact same shot from the other angle? And then you're practicing. While you're doing the thing that you wanted to do anyway, you're sitting there spending time relaxing by watching a show that you enjoy, right? But you're doing that, and you're getting some time for the back part of your brain to train. You're spending some time on the thing that you want to get better at without really losing any time, right? Because say you and your significant other always watch a show together, right? Well, you still want that time with your significant other. You still want them to feel valued, but you can be like, hey, babe, while we're doing this, I'm just going to be practicing off to the side. I'm still watching the show with you. I'm still here. I'm still present. I'm just also working on this other thing at the exact same time, right? And it's a good way to get some of that bonding time. You're obviously not going to be able to pull this off frequently. But you're still going to be able to get some of that time doing this thing and gaining value from it for a training or a drill perspective, right? Another thing that I do personally, I call it a 30 over 30 over 30. Your arm extended out, directly out from you, 180 degrees. 180 degrees and back. Over and over. And I do that at pace. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All the way to 30. And then, straight out in front of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All the way to 30. And then directly overhead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? That is working on your twitch muscle fibers. That is working on, can I throw this shot very quickly? Right? It's building up your muscles in a way that your body doesn't normally do. It's isolating a specific movement that you use every time that you fight and focusing on it. 30, 30, 30. Other arm. 30, 30, 30. okay? And then, and this one can be kind of annoying, you grab the center part and do it faster.
Quick question.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, is that with just the wrist, or are you engaging the elbow? Is the elbow moving when you do that?
A bit,
Not moving
half.
at all.
I'm getting about half.
Are you throwing it like you would throw a racket?
No, I'm not throwing a shot.
Well, like,
The point of this is not to actually throw your body mechanics. The point of this is to work on the twitch muscle fibers in your arm so that they are moving at a faster pace. And this is the second part that actually gets that a bit better, right? You grab the center of your sword and you do the same thing. And it will go much faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because the point is, you're trying to work on throwing those shots faster. And the way that you engage that is by getting the muscles that are trying to move faster. Right? So you do that here, you do that here, you do that here. You do left arm, left arm, left arm. I fight SCA as well, so I have a rattan stick that I've cut to 2 feet, and that's what I do with that. And it works on 2 things. It works on throwing the shot and ending at a specific point, right? Moving that muscle and ending at a specific point. And it works on the speed of it. It's going to increase how quickly you can engage, how quickly you can land that shot, right? But you don't want to do the full mechanics of the shot. We're not pellet. All we're working on is we're isolating the specific thing that you're trying to do in order to throw an outside wrap, right? Or not an outside wrap, but not. Anyway, the terminology. I'm trying to throw here.
Reverse wrap.
Reverse wrap, there we go. And I want it to go from here, 180 degrees into my opponent. Bam! The faster that I can get my muscles used to doing that, the faster that shot's gonna land. And so we're isolating the things, we're thinking about what are ways that we can train that will be lighter and easier on our joints, on our body. And using time that you're already spending doing something else, right? So it's not really cutting into any other time, right? And you can get done doing that, the 30, 30, 30, right? With both arms, both at the full extension and at the halfway point, like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And it's while you're doing something else already. You're already going to be in front of the TV, might as well get something else out of it besides the relaxation that you get from it, right? And for me personally, because I do, like I said, watch a lot of anime, I'm already watching something that is trying to make me feel like, you know, it's like listening to the Rocky theme song, you know, like, I had a tiger, yeah! And I'm watching instead some 16-year-old try and become a ninja or whatever they're doing, and I'm already in that moment where I'm like, yeah, I want to get better. This person is on their hero's journey, here is my hero's journey. 30, 30, 30. So, next, situational awareness. If you've ever heard the phrase like, hey, if you want to be, you know, an amazing fighter, you need to be thinking actively about fighting all the time, because regular fighters fight at fighter practice, warlords think about how to flank the meat counter. That's what we're talking about, right? Like you walk into a social situation, you walk into a store, you're already spending time getting groceries anyway, right? So you're out, and while you're out, think actively about, all right, that 75-year-old lady is gonna pull a spear out of nowhere. When she does that, my instant reaction needs to be clearing space with the cart, right? So I'm gonna half lunge and get the cart out in front of me. That's going to distract her, so hopefully the spear point is aimed at me so that I can do whatever I need to do from there. But the idea is, while you're moving around, while you're doing something that's monotonous or continuous or daily or rote at this point, right? Say you're a carpenter and you're used to already, all right, I'm going to put the timber on the bandsaw and I'm going to put it through the jig and then I'm going to push it through. Well, if instead of just I use the lever to push it through the thing and make sure that I get the cut that I want, you're still going to do that, but you're also going to think about, all right, if I wanted to stab through the bandsaw, I would need to engage my hips, settle my knees, use my body motion to extend out. right? So it's just little ways that you're still thinking about fighting while you're doing the things that you have to do anyway, right? So, okay, this next one's a bit personal. I don't mean to offend anyone. Anger management is something that we are all working on. That's part of the reason that we're here, though we might not be thinking about it consciously, right? Every single one of us has been angry at one point or another and been like, man, I really wish one of my friends was here so that I could hit them with this foam sword and I could feel better. It's not a bad thing. It's a human thing. It's a social creature thing. I want to be part of my tribe to work on this thing that is upsetting me, right? The reason that I bring it up here, the reason that I'm bringing it up in general is it's real easy to get angry if you are in a tournament situation. If you lose when you don't think you should have lost, or you throw a shot that didn't land the way that you wanted to, it's real easy to get frustrated here, and that's going to affect how you fight, right? So if we can control that anger, if we can control that anxiety, right, and instead focus on being present, being in the moment, right, it's going to make it easier for us to be competitive, dig ourselves out of that hole, right? It's also going to make it so that we don't make dumb decisions. I know for a fact that I can land, you know, what were we talking about earlier? The old Beal style bunny shot. If I just contort my back in 18 different ways and I'm angry enough to do it right now. No, we can still land that shot in a different way that's not putting excess strain on ourselves. And if we don't get to the point where we're so angry that we're just trying to do whatever the hell works, right, we will have a better chance of being able to become victorious, which is the actual end goal that we're trying to accomplish. We're not trying to hurt somebody, we're just trying to win, right? There's a mantra that I was taught in a martial arts class. It's called the Zhunti mantra. Z-H-U-N-T-I. Namo Saro Na Samyak Sampodo Itsuna Dazato Juri Shuri Shuti Soha Om Rin. Like, if you can get to the point where you're doing one of those mantras, one of these things, where it's just noises to you. These aren't words. They're probably words to someone. But to me personally, these are just sounds that I make when I'm trying to calm myself down, okay? And if you can recognize when you are on tilt, when you are frustrated, when you are fired, right? When you are fired up and you are aggravated, and you can instead go to one of these mantras, go to one of the, it doesn't have to be a mantra. Who here has like a favorite song that they hum to themselves? That's what you need in that moment. Hum to yourself. You're not in the pit, or you might be in the pit and you're like getting ready to fight. This isn't something to do when you're like in the grind about to hit somebody, but like when they've called your name, you walked into the tournament, you're already feeling yourself on edge or something else. You walk in, before you say that you're ready to fight, before you tap swords, before you lay on, take 10 seconds, sing a song, do a mantra, do something that pulls you back to your center so that you're not trying to fight yourself while you're trying to fight someone else. Because that's going to lead to bad decisions. That's going to lead to you being aggravated when you don't need to be. That's going to lead to you maybe not 100% taking that thing that definitely hit you that half your friends saw. Right? We make bad decisions when we're angry. Don't be angry. It's not that simple, granted, but it's something that we can work on. It's something that you can develop. You know, it's like the bell. You know, the dog that every time.
Pavlov.
There we go, Pavlov. If you can get yourself, every time you hear It's a Small World After All, or whatever song it is that you want to sing to yourself, to know I'm centered, I'm okay, this is fine, and do that. It's going to take work. You're going to have to work on this outside of fighting. You're going to have to do this at home. You're going to have to find that thing that actually does bring you centered. But once you get there, man, is it a lot easier to get into a tournament setting and not be concerned about how many wins you have versus somebody else. Yeah?
Can I share my own personal
Yeah, yeah.
about that? So in high school, I played water polo. I was a goalie, and it was very frustrating when someone would score a goal because you're in an indoor setting, everyone starts cheering, and you feel like it's your fault. And what I did was I would just slowly exhale and sink about 6 inches below the surface of the water, and then I would like come back up afterwards. And it got to the point that if I am in a situation and there's a lot of emotions going on, just that long, slow exhale reminds me of that thing. Like I Pavlovianly trained myself to just relax off of, and then I can restart whatever's going on. So that is like very, very similar experience. Like that one happens to work for me because of my life history that built up into that moment.
It's 100% on point. It's perfect. They actually also have a Scrubs episode on it where like, oh my God, it's an ICU patient and they're bleeding out. There's 18 different things going on at once, and I can't get over this hump where there's so much emergency happening right now that I can't process things. And the thing that one of the other characters told the other character was like, just breathe. Just take that moment for yourself. 1 second, 2 seconds, something that brings you back to center. And then you work from there. Like if you walk into a tournament and you get on tilt, you've lost the same person 3 fucking times and they keep doing the same thing, and you're just all up here. Okay, and then you take it 1 step at a time. So centering yourself makes it so you don't make those rash, angry, emotional decisions, and it gets you where you want to go. Okay, next we're going to talk about conditioning. How many people here run for any period of time every day? That's exactly it. Almost none of us do that, right? We are not athletes, but we are in an athletic sport, right? Conditioning is part of that, right? You don't need to do it every day. That's fair. 100%. I don't do it every day. I really like pizza. So, what are ways, though, that we can take time for ourselves to work on conditioning? Isometric exercises are really, really, really good for this, right? Who here has heard of a plank? That's an isometric exercise. Who here has done 10 minutes planks?
It sucks.
It sucks, right? But the easy way to get there is you do 30-second planks 20 times, right? You do 30-second planks 20 times over like a half hour, 45-minute period. Don't need to rush yourself, but you get in that position. You get locked in that. Okay, I'm on my elbows, both elbows. Straight back up, spine straight, ass straight. It should be aligned from your shoulders to your heels. All right, almost, I don't know. You know, whatever it takes to center yourself or gather yourself, or it can just be swearing the entire time. Fuck, this sucks, I hate this, right? Whatever it takes for you to do that, but the idea is you're building your core, right? Planks, that's the main goal, is to work on your center line, your core exercises, right? Sit-ups, also really good for this. There's like a website that I think it's like 100 sit-ups in a month, something like that. And the basic idea is you start with as many sit-ups as you can do in a row, and then there's a guide for, all right, you're at this level. That means for the first week, you need to work on this many sit-ups, and then a 1 minute break, and then this many sit-ups, and then a 1 minute break, and then this many sit-ups, and then you're done. And then the next day you do this many, and it literally walks you through how to get from maybe I could do 20 in a row to now I am able to do 100 sit-ups. It might take you 2 months, right, to get there, but that entire time it's going to give you actionable, reachable, obtainable goals daily for how many sit-ups to do, right? And the entire time it's going to build your core. And why that's important is if your core muscles, right, your abs, everything that's aligning your spine is strong and taut and working right, you will have 90% less back problems than anyone else you will ever meet. How do I know this? I was recommended for L5-S1, lumbar 5, sacral 1, surgery for a herniated disc. I couldn't do it. Every time that I went in, my kids got me sick. But after 3 months, they won't do spinal surgery if you have a cold. Sucks, completely fair. But every time that I went in for that surgery, I couldn't do it. After 3 months, I got to the point where I could sit up again. And I was like, I never want to fucking do this ever again. And every doctor, every chiropractor, every physical therapist, every doctor of Eastern medicine that I knew all said the same thing. Your core is weak. These muscles suck. Fix it. Sit-ups, planks. Sucks. I am now 8 years from having to see a chiropractor. I haven't seen one since. Core muscles. It's not, it was a God blessing for me. I'm not saying it's going to be for you, but it helps a lot. My wife had one child by a C-section. They literally cut through your abdominal muscles. You can't do sit-ups. You can't do planks very well if you have literally been cut through the abdominal muscles. You have to do tiny little things and build it back up very, very slowly. But you can get a lot of function and a lot of strength back in your core by doing little things until you get to the point where you can start holding things. Doing little things until you get to the point where you can start holding things, right? And then you work on that and build that core back up, right? Here's the next one. How many people here have seen any martial arts movie, ever, where they do a training sequence? Pretty much everybody? Does everybody recognize this? This is horse stance. It sucks. It sucks a lot. It sucks forever. There is never a time when standing like this will not suck. But if you can get to the point where you can do this for 2-3 minutes at a time, your thigh muscles, which are the major driving point in all of the movement that we utilize in foam fighting, all of it is driven from your thighs. And this is an isometric exercise that literally just works on those. It sucks. But, again, we're trying to minimize the damage that we're doing to ourselves in this very, very fast-paced, very strenuous activity that we are doing to ourselves willingly and enthusiastically. So, these are the ways that you can lessen the damage, lessen the impact on your own joints. By doing the exercises that strengthen the muscles, strengthen the tendons, get us to our best selves, right? Conditioning, for most athletes, is like half of what they do. Right? Every basketball team ever has a weight room, has a gym. Every football team you have ever heard of ever, if they are worth anything, has 3 weight rooms. Right? Anyone who's done soccer, anyone who's done tennis, and there are workouts, there are drills, there are things that you can do to work on the parts of yourselves that we use to do our sport, right? Fighting is a full body activity. When I had my ACL surgery in my right knee, I was fortunate enough to be a student at the University of Iowa. University of Iowa hospitals and clinics are one of the major teaching hospitals in the country for athletic injuries. I had the best people on the planet talking to me about my injury. I told them what I did when I injured myself, which was I was fighting foam sports, full armor on rubberized flooring. Tried to spin.
No!
ACL, MCL, meniscal tear. All of them at the same time. Fucked everything. Real good and proper, all at once. But I also had access to the physical therapist. While I was telling them what I did when I injured myself, they said, the only thing that we have similar for a rehabilitation program is what we put the running backs and quarterbacks and linebackers through when they injure themselves. We're playing a full body sport. Treat it at least a little bit like a full body sport. Give your body the tools that it needs to prevent its own injuries. Do conditioning, please. you don't want to have to go through rehab. It takes 6, 8 months when you're 20. It's gonna be longer when you're 40, 45. It's just do the things now to make it easier on yourself later. Yoga. If you've ever been injured, if you've ever had a back problem, if you've ever had anything, someone somewhere has told you to do yoga. Most of the time they have dreadlocks and smell like whatever. That's not important. My point is, this is a practice that has been around for literally 3,000 years. It works. It helps. Is it going to cure everything ever? No. No, it's not the solution to every single problem you've ever had physically. But, again, we're talking about what are ways that we can minimize the damage that we are causing to ourselves in a very fast-paced, very involved, full-body exercise. Yoga works, right? You don't have to do it all the time. You don't have to become a yogi. You don't have to really devote your entire personality to it. But if your gym, if your health club, if your friend who goes to the Asian center in your town does yoga once a week and you have access to that, it's fantastic. If you have access to YouTube and you can play it on your TV and you want a good, very humbling exercise, find YouTube videos of basic yoga and do it in your living room. And it will humble you with how basic some of these movements and stances are and how impossible they feel to accomplish. Planks are a yoga exercise. That's where they got it from. It's an isometric exercise. It focuses your entire body on one muscle group, and they have poses for almost every single muscle group. It works. It's been around forever. There's a reason. Isometric exercises. You're singling out a muscle group and using your own body weight, not weights, not machines, not the space that you need for a full gym, just your body weight to generate what you need to build up muscle, to make sure that those tendons are strengthened, to make sure that your body is working the way that it's supposed to. And it sounds silly. It works. There's a reason that it's been there forever. Equipment. One of my absolute favorite phrases is that good gear cannot win you any fights. Bad gear can lose you a bunch, but good gear cannot win you any fights, right? So make sure your equipment is maintained. Make sure that you're also using the additional accoutrements that people of our age group or who have been playing for a while use. Gloves aren't optional. Almost everybody here works with their hands in one way or another. You're doing woodwork, you're typing, you're putting data in for finances. Whatever it is, you need your hands. Gloves aren't optional. I am a big adherent to this because for the first 15 years that I fought, I did not think that I thought that they were optional, and I fucked my hands over way too many times. Nothing sucks more than telling your boss, I can't do my job today because I was playing with my friends and I hurt my hand. Get some gloves. Mechanics gloves are really good, fairly cheap. If you just want bare protection, you don't care. I have them in here. I use Milex street hockey gloves. Really good, low profile, still to your hand, $60. It's a little cost prohibitive, but they make sure that your hands and your joints are protected. Yes?
Cheaper than a week old. Lacrosse gloves are really good.
Lacrosse gloves are really fantastic. You can usually find them Facebook Marketplace, Play It Against Sports, you can find them cheap. Just cut the cuffs off. Yes?
I also really suggest if you're a red fighter or fight really heavily on a bell, get the ones with the thumb splints in them.
Yeah, the plastic supports.
Yeah. That has saved my thumb so many times from getting broken.
Absolutely. Like, just taking the time to consider, hey, eventually I'm going to be on the wrong side of physics. I'm going to be hit by core, probably from a polearm, because that's where like 80% of the injuries in any of these games come from, right? But by a polearm, by a greatsword, by somebody who decided to make a metal sled into a shield and then decided to punch with it. Like, we are going to be on the wrong end of physics eventually. Protect yourself. Little things, especially your hands. There's a lot of fragile fucking bones in your hand. Spending a bit of money on lacrosse gloves, my legs, the the lacrosse gloves that have the support, something to make sure your hands are protected. Like, it's going to, depending upon which type of gloves you get, it might affect how you throw shots, but it's going to protect your hands, which is really the end point anyway, right? Shoes. Know your terrain. We are all fighting on grass. Is there anybody here with basketball shoes? I've seen it before.
I've been that guy before.
Yeah. Fans, skating shoes. Are these things that you should be doing on grass? No. Similarly, if we're fighting in here, should you be wearing cleats? No.
You shouldn't wear cleats.
You shouldn't. Yeah, agreed.
Generally, right? I try to use cross trainers. It's got a bit more rib, it's got a bit more grip, right? So it'll work generally better on grass. And then if we come indoors for something, which very rarely happens, but if we come indoors for something, I have wrestling shoes that I use, right? Know your terrain, know what you're doing, prepare for it, make sure you have the right footwear. It's real easy to roll your ankle. Again, also, going back to the original way that I got my injury, if I had been wearing, say, skating shoes on the rubberized flooring, I might not have my knee as badly as I did, because it would have been terrain correct footwear. It's not. Know what you're doing, know where you're at. Good equipment can save you injury and prevent losses, right? Knee pads. You aren't 20. Nobody here, I don't think, is 20 or younger. So, can you bounce back from full body weight dropping on your knees anymore? No! Why would you? Why would you do that to yourself? I took them off because they were cutting off circulation, but I go out every year or two to a skate shop that's near my house where I know the owners and I like them, and I ask them what is the most expensive and most helpful knee pads that you have in this store, and I buy whatever they point at. Because those guys aren't just falling on their knees, they're falling on their knees from 10 feet in the air.
On the concrete.
On the concrete. We have access to everything. And if you wear the super awesome Viking pants, nobody even knows that you're wearing them. Did anybody see me today walking around? Probably most people in this room, right? Did you know that I was wearing knee pads? Do I look appropriate for the thing? Do I actually look pretty good? Yeah, I do. So, you can have all the protection that you need and still be a part of the game, still look good in the game, just spending the money. Motocross?
Paintball.
Paintball! Another one where people are running at full speed and then dropping to their knees.
Jeez.
Think about the sports that are adjacent to ours and find their equipment because they have money that we don't. Yes.
One thing to note about this, for those of you who have not played high-level volleyball, you are not supposed to have heavy impacts on your knees while playing volleyball. Volleyball knee pads are not designed to drop full body weight onto them. They're designed for incidental contact with a hard surface while you're doing something else.
Right.
So while it is better than nothing, there are better things for it. Volleyball knee pads, a lot of times will end up shifting out of position, but at the best case, it's not providing the level of support that you're wanting, and you will injure your knees over time using them the way that, using them wrong.
Right, yeah. The other thing about volleyball knee pads is that generally people, when they're using volleyball knee pads, they think that they are working perfectly because they like, oh, I can drop on hard things. These are built to drop on hard things. They're not really, but also they're built to drop on 100% perfectly flat things.
Have you ever taken a knee on a rock with knee?
There's a tree right over there where I was teaching classes all day that had roots that were at least 2 inches out of the fucking ground. I don't want to drop on those on volleyball knee pads. There's a reason that the skateboard knee pads, which are built for every type of terrain, because these guys are crazy and good on them because it saves my knees when I drop on an acorn or a tree root, right? Like, they have plastic, they have padding, they are built for dropping full body weight on. People used to use constantly, all the time, catcher's knees because similarly, they were built for dropping on your knees, albeit from much different position, right? So just think about the sports that are adjacent to ours and then find their equipment and steal it. Well, buy it, really. But, all right.
You know what I mean? For that particular part also.
Yeah.
Consider posting may not necessarily be the most min-max way of going through that, but if you can't safely drop your knees, just lose the fight. If you have to, post and keep on going. If they hit that leg again, great, at least you're in the next round.
Right. Another one for me personally, something that I witnessed, one of my friends, we were fighting at Arrakis 10 years ago or something, up in the mountains, and he got legged and he dropped full on onto his knee onto a rock. And blew out his fucking knee. And had to go to the hospital. And like, this shit happens. Like, think about the sports that are adjacent to ours and use their equipment because it works. Be kind to yourself preemptively. You will thank yourself for buying the $60 pair of hockey knees or whatever knees when you drop on that thing and go, man, that hurt through my knee pads. Thank God I bought knee pads.
Remember,
Right?
$100 worth of safety equipment is way cheaper than a visit to the doctor.
100%. Yeah.
Like with gloves, there was once a shot came in, hit me right in the knuckles, and I'm like, that hurt. That's bruising. That was through the lacrosse gloves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey buddy, weapon off the field.
Right.
Yeah.
But thank God that you didn't have to go to the hospital that day. Because
Yeah.
that's what would have happened if you didn't have the lacrosse gloves on.
If it was a bone bruise through the lacrosse glove without the lacrosse glove, fracture.
Right. Glenn usually wears eye protection, right? Headgear is something that we should think about as well. Lily, Sir Death Lily, always wears a full helmet because he has been concussed multiple times. He does not want to be again. Understandable. Headgear. I wear this fun-looking hood. It's really cool looking, but I used to get second-degree sunburns on my face all the time.
Yikes.
I'm Puerto Rican, so it would very quickly turn into a tan, but the first time every year, I would get horrible fucking burns on my face because I would go out and I would ditch for 5-6 hours in the sunlight with no cover. Hats, hoods, anything to sunscreen, silly hats, 100%. Gear, equipment, things that are preventing you from having issues. Think about them now. Prevent yourself from having additional problems later, right? Also, just sunglasses. You can tell he was wearing them today.
Yeah, they got broken.
They got broken. You just prevented yourself a permanent eye injury for a $5 pair of shades, right? Eye protection. Also, saving your eyes generally from bright lights, impacts, whatever. Spend a bit of money, save yourself problems later. Guard! I look good. I've already talked about looking good. I enjoy wearing garb. The other thing is, there's a reason that people used this stuff 500 years ago. 100% linen. It breathes, takes moisture, and every time I get a breeze, it feels like air conditioning. It's helpful. It gets you mentally in a place where you can fight, but it also makes you feel good, makes you feel like part of the community, makes you feel like part of the game. And if you're wearing appropriate garb for 85 degrees with 50% humidity, you don't feel like you're dying at the end of fighting for 25 minutes because your garb is helping you, your gear is helping you. You are helping to prevent heat stroke. You are helping to make yourself in a better position to not be injured. Now, does that mean when you suddenly stop sweating that the garb is going to protect you? No, that's what hospitals are for. You should visit one. Heat stroke is a real thing, and it happens, especially when you're out, especially when you're fighting, especially when you're engaged in physical activity in full sunlight. So, that was the bulk of my spiel. If anybody has any other questions, anything they want to discuss, anything that the earlier I know, what's up? That's genetic. All right. Yeah. So hopefully everybody had a good time. Hopefully everybody learned something. I'll be here again. My name is Sir Kupe. I'm from the Empire of Rivermore, which is like Midwest. But I am specifically from Omaha, Nebraska. So if there's anything that I can do to help you, please let me know. It's literally why I'm here. I'm really excited that you all came to the class. So thank you so much.